Hi, my name is Zool Davis with World Composting, and today we're going to do an update on bin number 2. So this is my 10-gallon tote that's in our worm bin. And last time when we checked this, we had the bags on top, and I think we had to remove them and move them to the side because of how wet this was. It was way too damp, and we needed to dry it out. We left the lid on it, but we took those bags and pushed them off to the side to let a little bit more airflow through there, and to let a little bit more oxygen in and try to dry it out. Now, we'll see how that looks. I don't know if we might have to remove the lid, we might not, but it should hopefully be starting to dry out a little bit more, and hopefully we can maybe add some food this time, but we'll see. I know that this was pretty close to also being harvested, so I don't know if we want to add more food or not, but it could probably definitely handle more. I mean, there's enough space in the system to handle more food, but maybe not enough time for bedding. I don't really want to add bedding and get it kind of going through, because bedding takes a while for these worms to work through, these red wigglers. So we'll take a look and see how it's going. I know that the castings are going to need to be fluffed up probably, because they're probably starting to compress down because they were so wet. But we're going to work from there, and we'll see. We might also add in a dry food this time instead of a wet food, and maybe try to get that that balance in there a little bit. Try to dry it out a little bit by not adding a lot of moisture to this system. So let's go to the bin and take a look and see how it's doing. All right, here we are with bin number 2. It's been 15 days since our last update on 7/22. And this is the one where the bin was a little bit too moist last time. So let's just flip this over here. And you can see there is some moisture buildup on the top, but not a whole lot. Doesn't look too bad. So let's just take that off there. And you can see our bag to the side and our shirt in the middle there of where we last fed. But this material still looks pretty wet. We're going to take this off. There's a fruit fly over here. I'm not seeing too many others, though. Hopefully there's not a whole lot in here. But you can see there's still some stuff stuck in here. But you can really see, this is what I'm noticing. Right down here, you can see that the bin itself, or the bag, was actually pushing into the material, and that's not a good sign I found. That means it's way too moist, and that's why we're trying to dry this out. We're going to take this shirt off the top, which is just collapsing apart right now. As you can tell, they're really, really working on this shirt. There's actually a worm in there, a couple worms. So they're eating this shirt, no problem. Takes a little bit of time, but they'll get to it. So we're just gonna. There's a little bit more over here. Actually, we can leave that in there. We'll just bury it in. But you can see this is just way too wet. The worms though look nice and healthy. They're very happy right now. They like it wet, but it's just way, way, way too wet. So we've got too much moisture in here, and that's what happens, I feel, when you put those bags on top. We've got a couple fruit flies here in this corner. No reason to leave them alive if I don't have to. They don't seem to be moving a whole lot, but they're in here. But you can tell this material is just way too wet. It doesn't crumble apart. It kind of sticks together in clumps. So this is way too wet. So what we're going to do, we're just going to kind of dig here in this center section, see if there's any food. Because we did add, I think we had some food here in this center section. You can see tons of worms though. They look very healthy and happy in here. They like it when the bins are wet, I find. But I would like to dry it out because I'd like to start eventually harvesting this. So there's still some food in here, it looks like, in the bottom. We're just going to maneuver this around a little bit more. Kill another fruit fly that's coming out of here. You can see this is just sticking to my glove. I mean, it's really, really just sticky. And I mean, like, I'm going to have to wash my gloves off after this. That's how this material is. That's not the way I like my bins to be running. I like them to be a little bit drier than this. So that way the material can kind of slough off my gloves. But overall, I mean, the material looks okay, except for it's too wet, but the worms are doing very well. And you can see they're kind of big, and I do find that they run a little bit bigger in these type of wet bins. I mean, you can really see, as I bring it up here, that they look healthy, and they're happy, but we need this to dry out. So we're going to continue to just turn this over. We're not going to feed any more wet foods, because I don't really want to add any more moisture to these bins. We're going to leave that plastic off to the side still. Just kind of, oh wow, really heavy. I mean, this clump right here, just you could tell it's just not coming apart like it would. But look at all the worms underneath it. I mean, they're just all over the place. But we're not going to add any more wet foods to this bin until we can dry it out. So what we're going to do, and we're not going to add bedding either. I'm trying to get this ready for harvesting eventually, because it has been, quite a while that this bin's been running, and I'd like to harvest it and move these worms to maybe another system, or get this going again. We can just continue this process of our weekly updates for this system. I'm just trying to get all the worms off here. So as you can see though, this stuff is just sticking to my gloves. It's almost like a lubricant on the gloves. So it just slides around on itself. It doesn't come apart very easily. So we're just going to move that back in here. Break all this apart, break the clumps apart. We're really fluffing this up, trying to get air everywhere into the system. You know, make sure that they can get that oxygen down in these areas. It can really get, as you saw with the bag on top was leaving an indentation. These systems have a tendency to get anaerobic, and then they can quickly go sour and smell. So you don't want to have it too wet where that could happen. I've only had that happen once, but it can. You know, I actually killed the system where I didn't realize it was there, and it went anaerobic, and that will just kill all your worms. So you really don't want to have that happen. But what we are going to do, though, for food this time, we're going to add something a little bit different. I think this is a pretty safe food source to add on top, and that is a mixture. So I have a mixture here of my crushed crab and eggshell, but I have a couple other things in here. I've got some oats that hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure if that's if you can see that or not, but these are some old-fashioned oats. These are plain oats, just oats, nothing else. You know, on the ingredients list, let's see if I can find it on here. Doesn't look like it. Oh, here we go. Ingredients. Oats. That's it. So it's just oats. Hopefully you can see that, but it's right there. It says just oats. So the other thing that we added in here, because this is just the container that I have it in, but this is bird seed. This is a cheap bag. I think it was like 15 pounds for $4 or something like that. These seeds are so small though that the birds are kicking them out of the feeder and making a huge mess. So that's why we don't really use them outside. But what I did is I added those together and I ground them up in my little blender here. So I'm going to open this up here, and you can just see there's a nice powdery mix. This also has some crushed eggshell, as I said, or crab in it. And we're just going to kind of sprinkle this all over the top. And this should help dry it out, get a nice micro population going with this material. But at the same time, it's going to go a lot faster than the bedding material. A little bit to this side. Now, with that in there, what I do want to do, though, is I want to mix it up. I want to get this all over it so that way the worms have something to chow down on all through the system. I don't want it just in one spot. And this is going to be a food for all the worms in here. And hopefully it's something that'll help dry it out a little bit because it's a dry food instead of a wet food. So it looks a little bit damp because there's a little bit of moisture in here, but it's pretty dry. So we're just going to shake this around. It's not even getting airborne at all because of how there's a little bit of moisture in there. So we're going to just kind of move that through here. This is going to build up with microbes and give the worms something to eat. Since there's not a whole lot of food and there's not a whole lot of paper in here either. The paper's really, it's hard to tell at least. I mean, you can see there's shreds, but comparatively there's not a whole lot of food in here. And this will give them something to eat and move around on. And that way we can kind of keep this going without adding too much. Like I don't want to add like watermelon or something like that that's going to add a ton of moisture to this system. I really want to dry it out. So with that, we're going to just grab our cloth here. And actually, I'm just going to use this to clean off my glove a little bit. Not kill those worms, though. Spread this out a little bit. We're going to throw on our... We still have our bag. I think I might just take it off completely. I mean, I don't see any worms on the bag. There's some castings on there, but I'm not seeing anything else really. So I'm thinking about just taking this out and leaving this off to the side. And saying that it works, but... You have to be real careful with these bags. I think it caused this to become too wet because it couldn't get enough airflow through all these holes on the sides with that bag directly over the top of it. So with that, we're going to close this up and we're going to let them chow down on that. So this is kind of a quick update here. And put our lid back on. And the next time we open this up, hopefully we'll see that this is either wet or dry. And we hopefully will see that this is more dry. That's the hope right now. So let's close this back up. And if you have any questions, again, please leave a comment down below. And thank you for watching.